Her initial untruth wasn't particularly ingenious. She claimed a late evening emergency root canal at the dentist required her presence, leaving her to help. Initially, I refrained from probing queries. Instead, I stood rooted at the kitchen counter, observing her attempt to avert eye contact as she poured wine, seemingly justified by the day's exertions. This was Chelsea. Slick, invulnerable, swiftly eluding truth. It had been several months since she fixed her gaze on me and held it there. Her eyes darted away from me like I was ambient noise, the refrigerator drone, the whir of the ceiling fan's whine. We'd progressed from being lovers to mere ornaments in the room. A change occurred. You recognize that sensation when someone's touch no longer conveys warmth but merely occupies space? That subtle alteration where affection ceased to be expressed, only feigned. I convinced myself it was a figment of my imagination, that perhaps her job was simply draining her, that I was likely being overly cautious. Beneath the surface, an ancient stirring awakened within me, a gnawing sensation, an age-old and hushed voice murmuring, "She's no longer yours. You merely provide for her needs." She began to sleep in on Saturdays, the kind of sleep devoid of dreams that didn't extend invitations for cuddling. She would awaken at noon, attributing it to a series of taxing appointments the day prior. For 90 uninterrupted minutes, she immersed herself in her phone without once looking my way. At times, I even made light of the situation. "I miss you," I'd say, a mix of laughter and sorrow, to which she would respond with that same superficial smile, one that never touched her eyes. "I am here." She wasn't. She hadn't been for weeks. The first genuine fissure appeared 2 Thursdays ago. Her laptop was left unattended while she bathed. Her phone lay on the bed, screen down. The house was silent, the air stagnant, and that ancient, decaying instinct within me warned, check. Dear friends, if you enjoy this story, please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. I didn't wish to be that man, that spouse, that disheartened, fractured version of myself I vowed never to become. However, I still decided to open my browser. The initial tab opened revealed her email, an unread message, highlighted. The subject line read, "Last night was insane, grinning face with horns." It wasn't concealed. There were no secret folders or burner accounts. It was just there. It seemed as though she didn't expect me to discover it, as if she knew I still believed the lie she wore like a fragrance. The message was brief, unassuming, too carefree. "I can still taste you. Same time next week? Unless husband gets suspicious." Grinning face with sweat. Signed, and I closed the laptop. Sat on the edge of the bed, gazing at the carpet as if it might engulf me. I wasn't taken aback. Not entirely. I think my body sensed it before my mind did. But the agony, that searing, freezing, syrup-like discomfort that invades your lungs and ribs, that was unfamiliar. That was something I couldn't suppress. Exiting the bathroom, enveloped in a towel and humming as if guilt-free, she bypassed me, focusing on her phone's notifications instead. In silence, I observed her. No words passed between us. The following day, I parked outside her clinic for 2 hours, spying on her. She was seen laughing with a man not amongst the dentists, tall, scruffy, gym-clad, standing too near, whispering intimately. They walked to his car. She caressed his arm. He smiled. She climbed into the passenger seat. Then they departed. Neither text nor call followed. No detour to the emergency dental clinic this time. At 9:15 p.m. that night, she returned home, donning a hoodie I'd never seen before, claiming she was with Sarah at Target, and nonchalantly placing a bag containing toothpaste and shampoo on the counter as if it were evidence of an uncommitted crime. Still, I hesitated to confront her. Not until I was certain. Not until I had prepared the words to wound her as deeply as she'd wounded me with her silence. 3 days after her unexpected act, on a typical Sunday morning, I prepared our customary breakfast, pancakes and coffee, with no phones allowed till noon. We stuck to this routine. I hoped she might recall our past. Yet there she was, browsing her phone at the table. I voiced my concern about her honesty. She didn't bother to look up. "Don't fret," she merely responded. "I'm faithful." As I gathered my jacket and approached the door, an unusual calmness enveloped me. It was unsettling how unaffected I felt. When I turned to her, she merely blinked once, offering no remorse or distress, just a raised eyebrow, seeming annoyed by my interruption. That moment confirmed that she had drifted away from me long ago. This is where I'll start. I didn't travel far that evening. I simply drove with the windows down and music low, allowing the chilly air to seep into the voids she left within me. There were no tears or outbursts. Firmly clutching the steering wheel, it felt as if I would crumple on the road's shoulder if I let go. This peculiar grief, witnessing the person I cherished transform into someone untrustworthy enough to hold my spare keys. Chelsea once made me believe I was the only man in existence. She'd trace her finger along my jawline when she was half asleep, murmuring, "Don't change, you're mine." Now she was out there with a stranger whose messages bore a fox emoji, while I prepared pancakes and clung to the shadow of our marriage, still believing it pulsed. I stayed in an economical motel, those places that deceive with cleanliness but reek of bleach and melancholy. I couldn't sleep. Instead, I lay on the bed, listening to the air conditioner's rhythmic hum, mimicking a heart monitor. At 3:27 a.m., my phone vibrated. "Chelsea, truly? You just left? Where are you? Are you all right?" A simple question, tainted with arrogance and sarcasm. 4:11 came, another text. "Chelsea, you're overreacting. Can we discuss this rationally?" She wanted rational discussion after using our marriage as a cover for her trysts with a man who used winking emojis and complimented her lips. I remained silent. By 7 a.m., the calls began. 5 in succession. I let them go to voicemail. I wanted her to feel the emptiness she created when she chose a secret life without me. At 10:43 a.m., one final text arrived. "Chelsea, I didn't cheat. You're exaggerating. It's complex." The favorite term of those who refuse accountability for their actions. The following afternoon, I returned home. Not to repair the relationship, I wasn't interested in that. I needed to see her reaction when she understood I wouldn't be her doormat any longer. In the kitchen, I found her pretending to arrange a drawer she seldom used. She glanced up surprised. "You're back," she said, implying it was me who needed clarification. "Indeed," I replied, indicating our conversation was imminent. She leaned against the counter, her arms crossed, as if readying for an argument. It seemed as though she hadn't been concealing the truth for months. She began, her tone defensive. "Nothing happened, Ryan. We were just talking." I chuckled, not out of humor, but to prevent myself from shouting. "I've read the email. I've seen the messages. I saw you getting into his car. Don't pretend you didn't do it in front of me." Her expression faltered for a brief instant. It almost seemed the truth was about to surface. Then the facade returned. "You're being paranoid," she retorted sharply. "I didn't do anything," she added aggressively. "Perhaps if you had been more attentive, I wouldn't have sought engagement elsewhere." The implication was clear. My lack of attention, my absence, and my inability to be emotionally available were the root causes. "Did you allow him to touch you?" I queried. "Merely because I neglected to inquire about your day?" She fell silent, not from guilt, but from calculation, like a chess player defending their position. I rose from my seat. "I won't sleep under this roof until you divulge the truth, every detail or none at all. And regardless, I'm consulting a lawyer." She snorted derisively. "Are you really going to dismantle everything over a few messages?" I retorted. "No," I said. "You shattered it the moment you believed I wouldn't discover them." Then I departed once more. This time, I had no intention of attending work tomorrow. Instead, I settled at a small table in a tranquil corner of a downtown cafe with my laptop. Earphones plugged, an untouched black coffee, and numerous tabs open like tools. I wasn't a vengeful psychopath determined to ruin her, but rather, I sought knowledge, all of it. Each call, every deception. As soon as you understand that someone has been deceiving you day after day, it no longer seems like paranoia. It feels more like reality, akin to war. The initial step I took was to delve into her phone records, often criticized for being outdated. We shared a plan, yet I never upgraded. Thank goodness I didn't. I logged into the account. The logs didn't lie. There were late-night calls to an unfamiliar number that kept recurring. The same number every time, ranging from an hour long, always during times when I was asleep, at the gym, or those nights she needed space and wine. Her number was linked to Nicholas Grady. I saved the number for future reference. Something inside me shattered. I dialed it. He picked up on the second ring. "Hello," he said. I remained silent, only listening. His voice was too casual, the kind you use when you've never had to deal with the aftermath of your actions. "Hello?" he asked again, followed by a quieter, "Chelsea." I ended the call. I don't understand why I called. Perhaps I merely wished to listen to the voice of the man who seemed to roam within the ruins of my marriage, treating it as an abandoned playground. The subsequent move was sending a message to Sarah, who had always been Chelsea's protective barrier. I met up with Sarah for dinner, later staying at her place. Our relationship had always been civil, not particularly close, but still respectful. She held a job in finance and wasn't typically entangled in the kind of chaos that Chelsea often was. I sent her a single message. "Hey, were you with Chelsea last Thursday night?" A read receipt appeared swiftly. She replied shortly after. "Not really. Why do you ask?" My screen stared back at me, my jaw tightening, chest constricting. I responded. She confirmed being with Chelsea, mentioning she spent extra time at the spa before heading to her own place. "Sarah, I haven't seen her in weeks. You may want to discuss this with her." That's when my hands started trembling. Everything suddenly fell into place. The fake receipts, the unexplained hours, the chilliness, the distance. She constructed a house of deceit, adorning it with my faith. Unwittingly, I dwelled within it, in darkness, assuming the wall noises were my self-doubts. That evening, upon returning home, the atmosphere was thick. In the lounge room, she feigned scrolling through Netflix, continuing her act, wearing her disguise. "Did you contact Sarah?" I inquired casually, leaning against the doorway. She raised her gaze, paused. An excessively long pause. "Affirmative. Why?" "You mentioned being with her on Thursday." Her expression shifted, then she attempted to smile. I recall doing so. "We parted ways early. She departed prematurely." I gave a slow nod. "Interesting. She claims we haven't crossed paths in weeks." A shadow fell across her face. That was when the confrontation escalated. "So, now you're interrogating my friends?" she retorted angrily. "Snooping through my phone records? Jesus! Ryan, this is insane behavior." I advanced. "Refrain from distorting this. I have the call records. I have the emails." Contacted him. I was privy to everything, and her facade didn't merely slip, but she discarded it violently. The sugary veneer she once wore faded away. She rose up, her gaze sharp. "Do you want honesty?" she asked, arms folded. "Very well. I grew tired of you. You stopped striving. You devolved into a monotonous, vacant man preoccupied with schedules, expenses, and tranquil evenings." Nick rekindled my spirit. I remained silent. "And I didn't inform you," she went on, her tone rising, "because I knew you'd respond in this manner, as if you were some pitiful victim, as if I owed you a perfect housewife performance." Each word was like a dagger, and I let them all fly. Then I said, with nothing but frostiness in my voice, "Keep Nick. I'll keep my dignity." And I entered our bedroom, closed the door, and dialed my lawyer. The first night I truly felt liberated. I still slept poorly. There's something about standing in your own bedroom, the room where I used to outline a lover's spine like scripture, and recognizing that space has been transformed into a crime scene, not with blood or violence, but with deceit. Over and over again, she gaslighted me through whispers, messages, texts. After shutting the door on Chelsea's emotional breakdown about her secret, no knock or apology came. No remorse, just quietness, as if waiting for me to crack first. She assumed I would carry on with my usual response. Wait, brood, forgive. But this time was different. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I stayed under the sheets with a notebook and pen, jotting down all our shared responsibilities: mortgage, car, credit cards, streaming accounts. Our dog, Max, had also started avoiding her, as if sensing something amiss. Interestingly, animals often understand before we do. At 8:03 a.m. the following day, I was already in a downtown office with Karen Lambert, a divorce lawyer recommended by an old friend. She reviewed the situation, took some notes, then relaxed in her chair. She didn't know I had consulted a lawyer previously? "Good," Karen replied. "It's better this way." I immediately liked her. During the process of sorting out joint accounts and partially adhering to our prenuptial agreement, Karen posed a query that resonated deeply. "Do you want the house?" For a brief moment, I was unsure. It wasn't due to my lack of affection for the house. Quite the contrary, I had personally constructed shelves in the garage, tiled the bathroom, and spent countless Sundays transforming the backyard, both of us taking pride in our efforts. However, each tile now seemed a reflection of her, and every drawer evoked memories of secrets she harbored. Yet, I answered affirmatively, not because I coveted the house, but to prevent it from being hers. By 10 a.m., we had initiated the legal proceedings. Karen suggested I maintain composure, refrain from speaking, and let her present her case against Chelsea at an opportune moment, both legally and psychologically. Emerging from that office, I walked with a slightly more upright posture. At home, she sat on the patio, sipping mimosa and scrolling through her phone as if our marital disclosure hadn't just occurred. She didn't lift her gaze as I exited. "You've returned earlier than expected," she mumbled. "I had certain tasks." She nodded nonchalantly, seeming indifferent, and possibly still did. At that moment, she believed she was in command. "Is Nick visiting this evening?" I inquired, catching her attention. Her eyes flickered upward, revealing a smirk. "Would it make a difference?" I responded. This caused the smile to fade. She wasn't accustomed to seeing that side of me, the one who no longer begged for affectionate crumbs. Then she uttered something quintessentially Chelsea. "You're not a saint yourself, Ryan. You cut off emotionally long ago." Once again, the unexpected remark surfaced, as if her infidelity could be masked with a shared guilt agreement. I refused to engage. Instead, I collected Max's leash, cast one last look at her, and warned her that someone would be contacting her, likely a woman named Karen. She isn't as kind as me. I departed, leaving her on the balcony without a retort ready. For the first time in months, I experienced something authentic: relief. Karen arranged for the divorce papers to be delivered when Chelsea was away, at a time when she was engaged in her weekly ritual of fake errands and posting boomerangs on social media, pretending to enjoy iced coffee as if auditioning for an Unreal lifestyle brand. The courier left the sealed envelope, requiring a signature. I ensured the house camera recorded this event. By the time I returned home from work, the envelope had been opened and scattered across the dining table as if it contained poison. Chelsea was restless. She didn't bother to greet me. Instead, she brandished the papers accusingly, exclaiming, "Are you serious?" Her tone suggested anger. I hung up my keys casually, calmly. "Yes." "You filed for divorce?" she asked incredulously. "Yes," I replied nonchalantly, grabbing a beer from the refrigerator. "We did talk, but it seemed like you were talking to others more often." Her expression twisted, first in disbelief, then indignation. It felt like watching a character I'd practiced with disintegrate in reality. "Is that it? You're simply surrendering?" she snapped angrily. I took a deliberate drink. "I'm not the one who surrendered. You're being overly dramatic." I arched my eyebrows. "Being dramatic is declaring loyalty while someone else is kissing you." That hit home, hard. She left briefly, then returned, pacing like a storm trapped in high heels. "Do you understand what this will do to me?" "Ah," I replied. "So now it's about your feelings?" It was at that point the switch flipped. Her voice softened. The act paused. She settled on the armrest of the couch, crossed her legs as if preparing for a negotiation. "Listen," she began, more softly, as if rehearsing lines. "Perhaps we made mistakes, both of us. But a divorce? Are you truly ready to lose everything?" This was Chelsea, expert in tugging at heartstrings amidst the emotional smog that obscured logic's clear view. Despite her ability to deceive, falsify, and manipulate situations, she swiftly portrayed herself as the victim before any resolution was reached. "Yet I'm not getting fooled," I retorted. "I'm not discarding anything," I stated. "You did that for our sake. All I'm doing is tidying up the mess," she sneered. "Do you truly believe you'll claim the house, the dog? You're delusional." Approaching Max, who sat silently by the kitchen doorway with his gaze fixed on her as if he had chosen allegiance long ago, I asked, "So, we're fighting over the dog?" She remained silent. As if prearranged, tears streamed down her face. I didn't expect you to act on this," she managed through sobs. Standing steadfast, I watched as she employed the same tactic she had used when she forgot my birthday years ago, when she corresponded with her ex secretly, when she fabricated the spa trip that turned out to be a weekend at his lake house. This wasn't heartbreak. It was remorse cloaked in deception. "For months you deceived me," I stated softly. "Now you weep because you didn't expect me to grow a backbone." She looked up, her mascara smearing slightly. "Was I truly that awful?" she murmured. I remained silent. She was aware of the truth already. That night, she departed. She didn't disclose her destination, just grabbed a bag, closed a few drawers, and exited through the door with her heels echoing like war drums. I made no attempt to detain her. Afterward, I sat in silence. Only me and Max were left. The house was tranquil, sincere. I should have anticipated it. The moment she lost control over me, Chelsea began manipulating others' perceptions. It started subtly, with indirect insults on social media, a story with a black screen and a lyric that read like a riddle. Some people change when you stop fixing them. A picture of her drink accompanied by the caption, "To peace after toxicity." Initially, I chose to overlook it, allowing her to portray herself as a tragic heroine. After receiving a call from Jake, my college friend, his tone unexpectedly cautious, he asked, "Hey, how are you?" I replied, "I'm good." His question puzzled me because he went on to say, "There seems to be some issue about you being emotionally abusive." Taken aback, I stopped in my tracks. She hadn't directly accused me, but Jake explained that she had told Melissa I gaslit her for years and consistently shut her down when she tried to express herself. Stunned into silence, I felt a buzzing in my ears and tightness in my chest. This woman, who had moved on with another man while I was grocery shopping, was now portraying our entire relationship as a nightmare, casting me as the villain. I ended the call and scrolled through her Facebook feed. There, a lengthy post published hours earlier. Sometimes you don't realize how lost you were until you leave. Feeling difficult emotions when someone consistently makes you feel like you're the problem. To anyone who has ever walked away from something toxic, remember you are not crazy. You are strong. Accumulating 300 likes. Torrents of heart emojis. Maintain strength, Queen, in the comments. Strangers from her past rallied around her as if she had emerged victorious from an incredible ordeal. I stood before the screen, anger freezing me from within. She wasn't merely attempting to win, she was trying to rewrite history. I remained silent, refrained from posting or commenting, avoided perpetuating the story, but my thoughts were a whirlwind of fury. Not only was she physically cheating, but now she was misusing my name as an insult. Then things took a turn for the worse. That Friday, I dropped by my regular barbershop. The owner, Doug, offered me a hesitant half-smile upon my arrival. "She's been here," he confided when we were alone. "Chelsea?" "Yes, she had her hair trimmed. Dropped some accusations while in the chair." "What kind of accusations?" Doug seemed unsure. "Claiming you were controlling, claiming you tracked her phone, that you made her feel insignificant every year." Dot. I balled my fists beneath the cape. "I didn't do any of those things, Doug." He nodded slowly. "I understand. You've always been quiet about it. She's boisterous. Boisterous individuals often seize the crowd's attention first." I departed without allowing him to complete his argument. That night, in my kitchen with the lights out, I continued to peruse her posts. Now it was all crystal clear. She wasn't upset that I left, but angry because I did so before her. Angry that I didn't plead for a change of heart. Angry that she didn't get the chance to discard me while appearing brave. Therefore, she exploited sympathy. She transformed our personal suffering into a public spectacle. Yet, I remained silent. However, the decisive blow arrived on a Sunday. I received a message from my mother. "What's happening between you and Chelsea?" She claimed I was cold and unfaithful. Unfaithful. The mere thought made me almost drop the phone. She, who had introduced another man into our union, dared to accuse me? After taking a deep breath, I called my mother, shared every detail, each message, call, deceit. I provided screenshots, names, dates, specifics. When I finished speaking, there was a prolonged silence. Then she whispered softly, "I believe you." This statement nearly brought tears to my eyes. For the first instance since this ongoing ordeal, someone scrutinized the proof and vouched for me. Consequently, I ceased to remain mute. I didn't share cryptic verses. I didn't pen lengthy updates. Instead, I posted a single, straightforward message accompanied by 3 screenshots. Nick's message, her false claim of being with Sarah, and a duplicate of the divorce papers. Silent individuals often keep proof. I had no desire to take this action, but I won't become your antagonist to make you feel like a casualty. If you are privy to the situation, you know. That post didn't garner 300 likes. However, the pertinent individuals were alerted. Chelsea did not respond or comment. She fell silent, too quiet. I assumed she had no more moves left. Post all the gaslighting, malicious posts, and abrupt silence, I believed Chelsea was out of ammunition. But when one's life is based on chaos, Tranquility is not capitulation. It's strategy. It transpired on a Wednesday. I received an email from Karen with the subject line, "Urgent Chelsea's legal response." The document within was a PDF bearing her attorney's name, a man who seemed to emulate characters from courtroom dramas with his frequent smirks. However, it was the contents that were unexpected. She was challenging the divorce, claiming emotional abuse, and seeking spousal support. Consider this well. The same woman who had cheated, lied, manipulated, and publicly humiliated me was now portraying herself as a victim in court. Incredibly, she accused me of creating an abusive home environment, claimed to have given up her career for my emotional well-being, questioned about any existing career, and even suggested the dog had a stronger bond with her. She demanded half the house, half the savings, and full custody of the pet. The moment I finished reading, I dialed Karen. "She's attempting to wear you down," she said. "It's a common strategy, false victim narrative. She's gambling on your surrender before court to avoid public uproar." I cynically chuckled. Chelsea craves drama. She wants court. After a brief pause, Karen advised me to stand firm. We decided to hold our ground, collected all the evidence, screenshots, texts from Sarah verifying Chelsea's falsehoods, neighbors' accounts of Nick's late-night visits. My barber consented to draft a sworn affidavit about what Chelsea said in the shop. I maintained my composure, avoided angry messages or online outbursts, and allowed her to dig her own grave. A week later, while walking Max near the park, I received a call. "Chelsea." After a 10-second pause, I answered. She didn't greet me. Instead, she asked directly, "Are you really doing this?" By then, it was already done. "You're seriously considering taking this to court? Would you rather act as if I wasn't married to a liar?" She scoffed bitterly. "Do you think you're an innocent victim?" I replied. "No, I think I'm the one who finally stopped letting you rule in a house I paid for." She was silent, then threatened and begged, "If you do this, you'll regret it." I remained unmoved. The only thing I truly regret is not doing this sooner. Click. 10 hours passed before I received a text from one of Chelsea's former confidants. "Maddie, an acquaintance whom Chelsea once shared gossip with and later abandoned when she grew tiresome. I'm unsure if this is relevant, but she's telling others you were unfaithful with someone from your workplace. She even displayed a phony screenshot. I recognize both the girl and its fraudulence." It transpired that Chelsea had manipulated a text conversation between me and a colleague, creating a false and salacious exchange to bolster her claims. This was the instant I understood something crucial. This wasn't about our marriage anymore. It was about power. The veil had been lifted. The woman I once cherished had transformed into a weapon aimed at everything I had constructed. Yet I possessed truth, evidence, and support, and I wouldn't be vanishing. The courtroom wasn't a battleground. It was a stage, and Chelsea strode in as the leading actress in a melancholic play, oblivious to the irony. She wore white. On her face was an arrogant calmness, as if she were the enigmatic protagonist in a Netflix series. Her attorney, a man brimming with confidence on borrowed capital, walked beside her like he was attending to a celebrity instead of a woman accused of forging evidence and emotionally devastating her spouse. I sat across from Karen, composed and poised, a manila folder filled with thick documents on my lap that could potentially sink her entire case. Chelsea refused to look at me throughout the proceedings. However, once her name was called, she transformed instantly. The tears flowed early, her voice quivering as needed. She told the judge that she felt lonely, controlled the finances, and faced criticism even when choosing the grocery brand. Her favorite phrase was emotional abandonment. She wept about the dog, about feeling discarded, even claiming I had manipulated her into leaving her job, a position she voluntarily left to seek spiritual enlightenment. Then, the defense lawyer presented fabricated messages as evidence. Enlarged for dramatic impact on a screen were images of a fictitious chat between me and a female colleague filled with inappropriate and over-the-top flirting, reminiscent of bad soap opera dialogue. The murmurs and shifts from the audience grew as Karen leaned close to me, grinning mischievously, and whispered, "Just wait." When it was our turn, Karen exuded the confidence of a career built on exposing lies. She stated that she intended to submit authenticated conversations between the defendant and a man named Nicholas Grady. Additionally, she presented statements from Sarah Kay corroborating the plaintiff's use of her as an alibi on nights she wasn't present. Furthermore, she showed a notarized letter from Doug M., a local business owner, attesting that the plaintiff publicly acknowledged being emotionally detached from her husband while involved with someone else. Moreover, here are the call records from the same phone number, showing consistent late-night calls. The judge raised an eyebrow in disbelief. Karen delivered the decisive blow. We would like to provide this forensic analysis done by a digital technician, verifying that the screenshots provided by the plaintiff were manipulated using an online message generator. With that, the atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically. Chelsea stared at the screen, her eyes wide with disbelief, as if her act was interrupted mid-performance. My silence spoke volumes. You lied, you lost. Now everyone knows. The judge adjourned for a break. Chelsea and her attorney hurriedly left, muttering heatedly. Karen and I remained still. Karen noted that Chelsea is panicking. She will either collapse or explode. 30 minutes later, we resumed the hearing. This time, Chelsea did not cry, nor did she speak. Her attorney merely requested a closed-door session with the judge. Upon their return, the judge's tone was terse. Based on the presented evidence, I decide to move forward with the initial divorce petition submitted by the defendant. Spousal support is declined. Custody of the child granted to Mr. Avery, with the residence remaining under his care. Translation: Chelsea's case has been dismissed. The web of her lies unraveled under the truth. Her act ended. Curtains closed. No ovation followed. As I exited that courtroom, past a still-seated, stunned Chelsea, I felt nothing. Neither anger nor joy, but simply freedom. Silence holds an undervalued power. After the courtroom spectacle ended and Chelsea's tale crumbled under its own weight, everything grew quiet, not just at home or online, but within my very being. Like someone finally turned off the ceaseless neon sign behind my eyes that read, "Heal her, heal this, endure each night for the past year." She did not reach out, neither by call nor text. No last-minute apology came. Nothing at all. I anticipated one final desperate attempt, a message in the dead of the night perhaps, a tearful voicemail, something, but there was nothing. Chelsea disappeared like a magician enveloped by a shower of glitter and vague tales. At first, I assumed she was strategizing. However, days morphed into weeks. Gradually, I reclaimed the debris she abandoned. I repainted the hallway, discarded her coffee mugs, donated the throw pillows she cherished but seldom let others utilize. I opened windows, slept in the center of the bed, began preparing pancakes again, solely for myself. Even Max seemed more lively. He trailed after me from room to room, tail wagging, sensing her absence. The dog knew, he always did. One afternoon, I ventured into the guest room, a sanctuary she had transformed into her creative haven, though she hadn't touched a paintbrush in 2 years. In the corner, behind the closet door, was a box. Inside were old photo booth strips, movie tickets from 2019, an unused candle, and something that made my heart pause, a small journal with her handwriting scrawled across the cover. I hesitated to open it, but curiosity has razor-sharp talons. I skimmed through it and was taken aback by the discovery. It wasn't a confession or romantic writing. Instead, it was raw anger. Page after page filled with bitterness and resentment, a log of every supposed slight, every moment she felt ignored, unnoticed, bored. There were entries about her dreams of fleeing to Mexico, about destroying comfort before it consumes me. It wasn't a diary, it was a time bomb. And in an entry dated months prior to meeting Nick, she wrote, "Ryan is too kind. It makes me feel insignificant, undeserving of him. So I challenge, I test, I yearn for something." That page resonated with me. It didn't make me dislike her, it helped me comprehend her, which was more painful because it meant she didn't stray out of passion. She did it to retaliate. I didn't keep the journal or confront her. Instead, I anonymously sent it to her mother. A week later, I ran into someone unanticipated. Nick. At a coffee shop unfamiliar since the war, I spotted an individual looking tense and slimmer. Recognizing him as the fox emoji man with misspelled messages, our gazes met, and he paused. I remained composed, sipping my beverage. He approached slowly, evidently burdened by something. "Are you Ryan?" he questioned. "Indeed," I replied, gesturing to a seat opposite me. He sat down. "I didn't realize she was married," he admitted abruptly. "Not at first, I promise." I didn't speak up. I only observed as he fidgeted with a napkin. When I learned the truth from her, she mentioned it was mostly over between us, that you were her roommate. Cold and controlling, they said. "Is that true?" I inquired. He vigorously shook his head. "I'm not sure, friend," he replied. I trusted her account, but her actions mirrored hers, lying, manipulating, and spreading rumors about me. Eventually, I ended the relationship, blocked her. That instant, facing the man instrumental in my marital breakdown, should have been repugnant. Yet, it wasn't. It was surprisingly confirming. "Has she ever told you about her journal?" I inquired him, his eyebrows arched. "No. Why?" I replied with a subtle smirk. "She will. In time." He departed after a few moments, leaving no harsh words, no apologies, just two individuals who witnessed the same tempest in distinct attires. That evening, on my porch with Max nestled at my feet and a cold beverage in hand, I breathed my first quiet breath in what seemed like forever. Chelsea didn't triumph. She didn't shatter me. But the following stage? That's where I truly began constructing something fresh. There's no ritual for healing, no dramatic crescendos, no concluding credits. It commences in trifling, silent ways, like the first morning I made the bed without contemplating her resting there. The first time I navigated past her favorite aisle at Target without feeling as if I was struck in the throat. After resuming sleep with the window open, something she despised due to the belief that night air induced peculiar dreams, I found it was the lack of permission post-breakup that hit hardest. No longer questioning if my actions would upset her, worry about her misinterpreting my words, or fear her reactions. The storm had cleared, and I realized how many minor daily decisions I had surrendered to someone else's control. On a random Tuesday afternoon, I took Max on an unfamiliar trail without a leash or GPS, enjoying woods, sun, and no need to prove myself to anyone. 2 weeks later, I erased every picture of her from my phone, not out of anger or pain, but because I no longer required evidence of her existence. Encountering Sarah 2 weeks hence, the one Chelsea had impersonated for months, using her name as a human pass, she recognized me in the grocery store, did a double take, and approached me. She seemed anxious, yet resolved. "I owe you an apology," she said, "for not reaching out to you sooner. I didn't wish to find myself in the crossfire." "You weren't," I told her. "You were merely a front to her." She flinched, though I knew it was true. I should have spoken up then. "You did," I acknowledged when it mattered. Relief washed over her face. We exchanged casual conversation for a while. It wasn't deep, just simple chit-chat. Eventually, she said something that caught me off guard. "By the way, she's been struggling." I remained silent. "She's been moving from place to place," she added. "You destroyed a crucial connection when you sent that journal, by the way," she mentioned afterwards. I didn't reply. What was I supposed to say? Good? But the truth was, a part of me felt good, not out of malice, but out of understanding. The repercussions had finally caught up with someone who believed they could evade truth indefinitely. That night, for the first time since Chelsea shattered our lives, I wrote. I sat at my kitchen table and let it all pour out. Not for retribution, not for resolution, but just because. Due to regaining my words and voice, things I thought she gradually muted with her dismissive smirks and sidelong remarks, I received a message from Maddie, my old friend who informed me about the fabricated screenshots. She warned me that Chelsea has been inquiring about me. Chelsea stated she misses my reliability. Reliability, not affection or regret. Just a renewed yearning for control disguised as a more appealing term. I chose not to respond. However, I did compose one last note, a brief letter. It contained no insults, no accusations, only truth. Chelsea, we were like a fire, stunning, destructive, and consuming. You lied, you lost me. I've created something calmer now, and you are not welcome in it. R. I didn't send the letter. I didn't have to, because by then I had already begun talking to someone new, someone who did not raise their voice to be heard, who laughed without needing an audience, who listened attentively, never once making me feel like I was being evaluated based on my intrigue. 6 months later, I found myself in a cafe I hadn't visited since the world changed. The gathering was work-related, just background noise in my new tranquil life. I had grown accustomed to peaceful mornings, not ones filled with strategy. Then, Chelsea entered. Her distinctive gait and aura were still recognizable, but the magnetic charisma she once radiated seemed absent. Her skin looked weary, her lips taut. She wasn't wearing her signature sunglasses. Perhaps there was no crowd to entertain. Recognizing me first, she paused in the doorway. Then slowly, as if pride were slowing her, she approached. "Hey," she said. I glanced up. "Hey, you seem different." "You don't," I replied, taking a sip of my coffee. A hint of uncertainty flickered across her face, as if she couldn't decide between a smirk or a snarl. Instead, she maintained an even tone, feigning calmness, like rehearsing composure. "May we speak for a moment?" I indicated the chair opposite me. It wasn't due to my desire for her presence, but because I wanted this discussion to unfold on my terms. She complied, breathed, and arranged her hands as if readying herself for a TED Talk. "I've been reflecting deeply. It might not be safe." She disregarded it. "I acknowledge my mistakes," she admitted. "I concede that I lost self-control, and I recognize the pain I caused you." A pause ensued. I wasn't seeking forgiveness. Instead, I wished to express myself openly. I scrutinized her. I observed the flaws, the worn-out parts. This wasn't an act. It was genuine this time. She appeared as someone who had exhausted all mirrors. "I exploited people," she confessed softly. "Nick, you, even Sarah. I simply didn't know how to exist anymore. And the more you attempted to assist, the more I resented you for it." That was the truest statement I'd ever heard from her. I gave a single nod. Then I said something she hadn't anticipated. "I loved you," she admitted. She now seemed glossy. "I simply didn't know how to deal with a man who didn't require fixing." I nodded once more, and then I uttered the unexpected response. "I pardon you." She looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" I repeated. "I mean, I pardon you," I said. "But that doesn't imply a reconciliation or a return of my trust or my patience." Her mouth opened, but no words followed. For once, she had no response. "You were the cause of our demise," I stated. "And then you attempted to entomb me in the fragments. But I escaped." She gazed at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, her jaw tensed. Then she rose from her seat. "I hadn't expected you to be the one to sever ties," she murmured. "That's what silent men do," I replied. "When they depart, they don't slam doors. They lock them." She remained silent, just turned and exited the cafe without a farewell or a glance back. No dramatic exit, no last look. That was the final chapter. Not the documents, not the trial. This moment of me watching her leave, feeling nothing but the consistent, steady beat of my own heartbeat. People say healing isn't linear. It comes in waves. They are mistaken. Healing doesn't come in waves. It comes in layers, like peeling away years of someone else's touch on your skin. Nowadays, I seldom ponder over Chelsea as I once did. My contemplations are no longer marked by animosity or melancholy, but rather recollections of a fanciful dream that seemed sensible during its occurrence, yet in retrospect feels preposterous. Occasionally, I look at someone and wonder, how was I ever led to alter the entirety of my existence? Such is how it feels now. As I've methodically reconstructed my life, my dwelling is serene, devoid of tension or manipulation. I play music when preparing meals, allow the dog on the couch, and let dirty dishes linger in the sink without fearing criticism. My laughter echoes more frequently, authentic, raw, even awkwardly loud. I've resumed composing essays, primarily focusing on emotional healing, autonomy, and the unseen abuse that leaves scars of doubt instead of physical bruises. Readers respond to these writings, express gratitude for articulating sentiments they could not voice themselves. It appears many individuals share my traits, and there's a fresh face in the picture now, not Chelsea, thankfully. She isn't dramatic, wild, or excessively exciting with the harmful allure I once pursued like a moth to a light. Instead, she is consistent, calm, respectful of others, and doesn't employ silence as retribution. She takes an interest in my day and listens attentively. Her gaze often falls upon me even when I'm silent, not out of anticipation for a response, but because she truly perceives me. I confided in her completely, and she responded without recoiling. Instead, she offered comfort, saying, "I'm glad you moved on." To the man I once was, the one who stood rooted in that kitchen as she lied and smiled with another's taste upon her lips, I convey, you are not fractured. Rather, you are unlearning another's trauma. And when you eventually break free, refrain from turning to see if she follows. She won't pursue, as people like her don't chase after what they never believed they would lose. I didn't abandon her. I let go of the illusion. In this process, I uncovered everything she attempted to persuade me was beyond my reach: tranquility, self-worth, honesty, a love unrestricted by conditions. The chapter has ended. The dwelling is tidied up. The mirror reflects me now, and that's the genuine finale.